Today, we're diving into the fascinating journey of Vince Serrano, a visionary who seamlessly bridged the gap between renewable energy and creative media. As the founder of Solar Central Systems, Vince made his mark in the solar industry, pioneering advancements and leading his company to remarkable heights before successfully selling it. This pivotal moment marked the beginning of an exciting new chapter in Rawlink Media, which is Vince's true passion project. So join us today as Vince shares his insights from his transition in the solar energy industry to his approach of fostering creativity and innovation, and how he's making an impact in the lives of creatives and business professionals all around the coast. Vince, welcome to the Spotlight. Vince, thank you for coming in today. Really appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks for having me, brother.
My big question that I want to know, and I think everybody wants to know, is how did you transition from solar industry to music industry and making a media company?
Yeah, man, that's a really good question. I'm glad that you asked. So I was always into the music. I was always into the content creation. I was doing it just for, before I got into the solar industry, but it wasn't paying my bills. So I got, and that's, broke artist, right? That's what you see all the time, right?
All the time.
I couldn't be that, and so I got into the solar industry, and I was in there. I got my business to the point of the liquidity moment, and a lot of people don't understand is when you sell your business, right? You don't always sell all of it. You sell a fraction of it, and so we were able to do that. But it wasn't my true passion. It wasn't the music was always my passion. So I started focusing on that as well. I sell a part of my business. I still want to take it to that point. And then I started focusing on more the music, like transitioning there. I started seeing more success in the music and more in the content creation company. And then industry changes, administration changes, inflation, all types of things ended up happening where, I had to literally make the transition because there was no other choice. I was already in. Yep. I was already committed. And so from that point on, different things happen. I feel like, the universe or God, it kind of tells you like, hey, look, this is what it may feel like a curse or it may feel like but
it's really your jumping off moment. You have to take the step off the cliff to get in the water, right?
Absolutely. And sometimes you have to jump into that water and go after what only you can see. Nobody else can see it. To everybody else, you're a fool. But you see it, you have to dive in and go get it. So
let me ask you this. And for you, this is off my list of questions. But how much level of delusion do you feel entrepreneurs need to have to be successful? Because there's a point where you're way too delusional and everybody can see you're just a whack job.
Yeah.
But there is a level of delusion you have to know that you can see something that nobody else can see. What is your take on that?
Yeah. So you are a whack job until you do it. Like you literally are a whack job until you make it happen. Talking about solar, right? Getting into the solar industry, we live in the Sunshine State in Florida. Bought a house here and everything. During 2014-15, there was no solar presence in Florida. I had to move to New York to go do it.
Oh, wow.
My grandmother told me, you're an idiot, right? People are coming from New York to Florida. You're going the other way.
Yeah, she's kind of got a point.
Right.
I could see that.
2 years later, I'm helping her grab a house, buy a house.
Wow.
The idiot.
Yeah.
And so you gotta believe in what you're doing. There's that gut feeling they talk about that. Your intuition, leadership intuition. You gotta trust that. And then you gotta go through it, man. People don't know. I slept on the floor in the office for this.
Wow. That's a beautiful thing, really.
It's a level of commitment and determination and resilience, and a lot of people don't know. Like, you got to be crazy.
Oh, you have to be crazy to be an entrepreneur. I mean, I'm a firm believer of that one. That's a good line of thinking. When did you come back to Florida, if that's the case?
Yeah, that's another question. So I started my business in 2018. So I was in the solar industry in 2014, working for the largest residential solar company. I was the third employee on the East Coast. And then, 4 years later, I decided to start my own business. If you look at Sunrun's CEO picture, when they went public, I'm actually behind the CEO, Lynn Jurich.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
so literally started from the bottom, now we here.
Yeah.
And if you go in their building, you'll see me. But I wanted to go off and go and do things on my own because I'd helped other companies. They had contracted me for consulting, contracted me for regional VPs, and I was really ringing bells in the industry. And so I wanted to do it. I've done it for so many other people. I needed to do it for myself. And so what I did was I started my own business, and I didn't want to pay the crazy rents and the taxes in New York. And so what I did was I started, I moved to Florida. I also met my wife. A lot of people don't know this, but like when I started my own company, it wasn't because I wanted to start my own company, things like that. It was, I wanted my company that I was working for to come into Florida in that market, and they said it wasn't profitable enough. And I wanted to start my life with the one that I loved.
Yeah.
They owe me still to this day $186,000.
Wow.
Yeah. Shout out Horizon Power.
Oh man.
Shout out to them.
It's getting crazy over
Yeah.
here.
No, but no, it was on a leadership tip. I want you to know that sacrifice of that not getting that money, going off. I was selling solar literally with their shirt on. Mm-hmm. And a vest over it, using still my badge for my company. That pushed me to move forward, and I made way more leaps, bounds, money, growth points than that $186,000 that I sacrificed. And so I saw way more success. Maybe that was six figures, like mid six figures, but my company went into the 7-figure moment when I started that. And so just making that sacrifice, like knowing, hey, look, this is what I'm sacrificing to come back to Florida to do solar. And I was in 5 different states, actually. So we started in Florida, moved to South Carolina, went into Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and New Hampshire. And really I just started it to pay my bills.
Wow. That's interesting because I wanted to ask you what key moments inspired the change, but it sounds a little bit like you had a vendetta. And I have that.
Yeah.
A lot of what drives me is like wanting to outpace other people. I love when people tell me I can't do something because that drives me forward.
Absolutely.
That's a motivator for you?
Yeah, 1,000%. I'm always a guy that's going to be going against the grain, right? I'm going against I'm non-traditional, even though I have like some traditional beliefs, like the basics, but I'm always looking to innovate. I'm always looking to do what other people say I can't do. So that's one of them. Another thing is I'm stubborn. I'm just
preach.
Yeah. like I'm stubborn. Like I feel like, if you tell me no, like there has to be a reason why.
Yes. Yeah.
And I have to buy into what that reason is. Because if it's like a limiting belief, then I'm trying to break the ceiling.
Yeah. I've said it on here before, and I've said it to Kevin, is if you're not arguing with your higher ups, then you're not pushing the limits enough.
1,000%.
You're never going to make it if you don't make someone angry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I like to call it challenging, because if you become argumentative is like grounds to be right.
You're out of here.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yes.
I like to say challenging, and just pushing the moving the needle, pushing the envelope. Really just taking it to the next stages. Like when I was starting off, there were things, we couldn't sell a deal. Like literally for 8 months, I couldn't sell a deal. It was crazy. People, they tried to fire me like 3 times. They tried to let me go like 3 times. I was like, look, I'll stay here and work for free. Like until I get this, like I'm on a commission-based check. I'm going to show up to every single meeting and I'm going to get it until I do. And when I do, I promise you that I'm going to be there. 8 months of that, and then 4 months of really just going off changed my whole life. It changed my whole family tree,
So how did what clicked? What kind of sales component, what sales tactic clicked that you finally had that successful 4 months?
Yeah, I'm glad that you asked that too, because it's crazy to know that, like, my sales manager, Andrew Gross, at that time, shout out to Andrew. He really believed in me. I mean, anybody he called me a tough mother, but I was a horrible salesman. Right?
You were stubborn.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know the sales process. And that's the one part that, you know, you can be great, you can have a great attitude, but if you're talking yourself out of the sale, you're not really providing value. You could be great, but you're just going to get somebody interested enough to go do it with somebody else. And he really took me and put me under his wing and told me, hey, look, this is what you do. This is how you do it. At the end, you ask a question that's going to make them feel dumb if they say no, and then shut up.
Yes. Yes.
And then let them make a decision. From there, they're either going to tell you objections that you can come back, or, hey, what's the next step? And we called it the golden silence. And literally, I learned learned the process.
Silence. I got to write that down.
Yeah, yeah. It's literally in Wolf of Wall Street too. But but it's that idea is that, you know, you provide value, you bring them through we call it the 8 steps. You let them know why they're here. Let them know, you know, why they're interested, gain their hot points from the beginning, bring your presentation, let them know the value. And then at the end, you know, hey, is this something that makes sense for you? First one to talk loses. You know, and
That's beautiful.
Yeah, he took me to that. And then from that point, man, like it clicked. And then all of a sudden I started pushing these things in. You know, my first 6 sales, 4 of them canceled.
Okay.
So
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, because I'm an early sales guy, right? Not understanding the sales process. Now I'm just throwing them in, right? Well, now we get to the, like in business, in anything, right? You're going to go through these moments. You're going to go through these growth stages. Like, you're going to see success, but there are going to be failures. And the failures get bigger every time, and the stakes get higher every single time. And so now that I know how to sell, that's great. Now my cancellation rate is 75%. And now
It's always something to keep working on. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And so now he teaches me the heat check or the tie down. You know, hey, look, if this is for you, right? It's great that I can talk you into doing these things, but like, how, on a scale of 1 to 10, how close are you to doing this, right? Because if you decide to do this, great. But if you cancel, then it makes me look like I'm not doing my job. And, you know, that not only are we wasting resources, but we're wasting my time and your time.
Yeah.
And, you know, getting them to commit to me after just committing to the product, that was the next milestone.
That's very interesting, because I everything you're saying is resonating with me on a really high level, because I have meetings and a lot of, like, for the Mix One show that we do.
Yeah.
We just took a meeting, and before the potential client had got in, I said to everybody, if I shoot you a look, it means shut up. You know?
Yeah.
And someone started saying something, and I dart a look at them, and instantly it clicked. They were like, oh, okay. I totally understand.
Yeah.
Say no more. I was like, because you're giving away the sauce, the magic of it. And then it's like you said, then they're just going to take everything you told them and try to figure it out on their own with you've lost a sale. And then the other thing, something important I want to ask you is, what guidance would you give aspiring entrepreneurs who are in that sales process of figuring it out? The golden silence is amazing, but what's something on a level that an early person would understand?
Yeah, I think knowing the value of what you have, right? You know, I told you I'd sold solar for 4 years, right? And so we had a process, and we knew how much we could sell it for. When I started my own business, even though it was the same product, even though it was the same stuff, like, I literally had to drop the price to give it away just to get people to trust me and my company. Literally had to give it away to get some of those people to say, hey, look, this isn't aliens coming from right? This really works, right? And at the beginning, giving it away got us, it didn't get us a lot of money, but it got us clients.
You had to prove your value.
Prove the value.
Yep.
Then once we realized, okay, we can actually do this, and then we can do it well, then we were able to bring other people on, right? Because now our business is sustainable, right? And once we knew that we could bring other people on, those people started challenging us to become better. And then we taught them how to be, you know, sell it for what we were selling it for, and then they got good enough to sell it for more.
Beautiful.
And that's the part where now, like we talk about little different milestones. That's the part where we started saying, "Hey, hold up." Like, where are we at right now? Like, is this? Are we? Did we just raise the floor? Did we just raise the floor? Yes. Okay. You can't sell it for lower than this anymore because, yeah, we're not making enough money, and we can sell it for this because our value is there. And I think sticking to that as well, sticking to your values, sticking to your once you raise that floor, don't go back down to it. It's important to know that because you have worked your ass off to get here. So finding your value, finding that sales process, knowing what you're worth over time, and then sticking to that and just getting better.
That's amazing. Could you tell me, we've got a lot about what you did in the solar industry.
Yeah.
Could you tell me about what your new ventures are? So take it away. What is the Yacht Club?
Yeah, the Youngest in the Yacht Club. Youngest in the Yacht Club is a podcast. It's a label, a music label, and it's a lifestyle. We talked about the transition into content creation, music, and
Because I really want to get your take on branding for personal branding, business branding, social media, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
It's life for me. Like when it doesn't feel like work, you're doing what you love. And it all came because of that transition. I was doing it before. I wanted to take it serious. I didn't want to be 80 years old feeling like I gave up on my dreams, right? And so we created a company called Raw Link Media. My wife and I, we actually created it at the same time we created my business, Solar Central Systems. And then we were doing media for Solar Central Systems, which was my company, but we weren't really running it like a full-fledged business. Solar Central was doing everything, right? But then when we made the transition and said, "Hey, look, I don't want to be traveling." I was getting on a plane every Monday morning at TIA, 4:30 in the morning, traveling to Charlotte, and then going crazy. I wanted to stay home. We just bought a home. I wanted to spend time with my family, and we just decided, "Hey, look, let's get into the media." Got Raw Link Media. We decided to do a podcast just on the fly, and we called it. We didn't know what to call it. I had this company called Youngest in the Yacht Club because it was something that I said in a rhyme. That sounded cool. And then when we kind of did a podcast on it, we were like, "What are you going to call it?" And I was like, "How about Youngest in the Yacht Club?" And people looked at me and was like, "Yo, that's fire."
That's when you know you got something.
Yeah. And then we stuck with it. We made clothing. We made a label with it. It just so much stemmed from it because it felt like it was a lifestyle. Like even if you weren't into rap or even if you weren't into music, when you hear Youngest in the Yacht Club, people are like, "Ooh, that's dope." Yeah. Right? And so we just...
Well, it gives you aspirations, It's
right.
Like, I can do that. I know I can do that.
Yeah.
How do I get involved?
And it doesn't... It has... no limitations, right? Youngest in the Yacht Club. Like, that could be anybody.
Yeah, it depends what yacht club. You can be 50 and the next guy's 60.
Yeah. youngest.
Like, and just the idea of giving back to the generation after you, giving back to the people after you. If it wasn't for the guy, Andrew Gross, he was older than me. If it wasn't for him looking at me and saying, "Yo, you a tough mother, dog. I can't teach that, but I can teach you how to sell." Him giving back to me, there would be no Youngest in the Yacht Club. Me doing that for other people and helping them change their life, there would be no Youngest in the Yacht Club. And I've literally trained hundreds of people for these companies, and some of those people are still at the company. Some of those people own their own companies and they've changed their lineage, and that's where that's come from. So Youngest in the Yacht Club just really means everything that I've done, and it's easy for me. Like I said, it doesn't feel like work because it's just what I do.
I love that. You ever got a question?
Go for it.
Because I didn't realize you had the media company at the same time as the solar company.
Yeah.
What worked better for you? At the time you said at the solar company you had a hard time making media content that was successful and earned you revenue.
Yeah.
What would you say is better, personal branding or business branding? Which do you think is more successful?
Yeah,
easier to do?
Yeah, easier to do is your personal brand.
And why is that?
Because you just live you. Like, you are just you. So like, if you're you can build. And let me backtrack a little when I say this. You can be many things in life. If you look at me, I was many things in life. I was a basketball player. I was a student. I was an honor roll. I got, I was a felon. I was a drug dealer. I was a business owner. I'm a musician. You can be many things in life, and people want to connect to you.
Yes. Yeah.
And so building, like, even, I mean, any product, I can sell anything. Why? Because people buy into me.
Yes.
And so building your personal brand, to me, feels more authentic. Your business brand, right? And I know this because of those things. Your businesses are just some things you do. And when you're building that, that's like, hey, look, that's great. I mean, think about it, right? You think about Tesla, who do you think about?
Elon. Let's go.
Yeah, and then you realize, you think about Twitter, you think about
Now.
Elon, right? You think about the Boring Company, SpaceX, you're thinking about Elon. You think about Amazon, you're thinking about
Bezos.
You see where I'm getting to, right? Mm-hmm. You think about Facebook, you're thinking
robots, lizard man.
Right?
He's the guy. He's cool. He's becoming more of a person now.
But you're seeing that, right? It's 100%. Bigger. It's bigger than, like, those people end up being bigger than the brand, and that's because you can connect with those people somehow.
Yes, I mean that. In 2024, my marketing strategy is to be authentic. Mm-hmm. That's all that matters to me these days. Mm-hmm. I've preached it in this business. Is like everybody needs to have a personal brand because it's only going to elevate the business.
Absolutely.
When people on sets see Kevin and they could say, "Oh man, I saw like that picture you posted with your son and your daughter. It looks so beautiful." There's a connection happening there.
Absolutely.
If I were to make a video talking about marketing in some way or another, and I'm in a room with a guy who does marketing, we can relate, and he might have seen that. So personal branding is everything for me, as long as it's authentic.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to go and flex like you're not someone who you really are, and then step into a boardroom and look like a clown.
Yeah, and you can. Those people will smell that right away, And so I think that, like you said, building that authenticity is super important with you building those things. I also think, though, I know. You have to be authentic, but you also have to be quiet. The wisest man in the room talks the least, and he's studying the room. So if you do walk into some of these rooms, right, yes, your presence is going to show who you are regardless, right? Because I've walked into some of these rooms knowing that I am not the biggest baller in here, right? So knowing how to navigate the room is huge too. I think for business people, this is just a piece of advice, kind of off topic. Like, find the people who are doing it and go tell them, hey man, I see what you're doing. I really respect what you got going on. Can you teach me a few things and soak game? Because that's actually going to open you up to being coachable, because everybody in the room wants to be this big flex guy. But when you walk into the room like, hey, look, I don't know everything. What can I do? Like, can you give me some pointers? That opens up the door for you to be coachable and teach.
And on that point, everybody wants to help people. Like, there's an innate feeling that you get, for instance, if you give some food to a homeless person. Mm-hmm. You leave there and you feel good. You even want to tell people that you did something along those lines.
Absolutely.
So people worry that they're going to go and talk to this business person who is the head honcho, and they're going to clown them or not want to help them. But the opposite is the case. They want to help you. What they want to do is, they know their time is limited to set someone else up for success.
Right.
It might not always be nepotism. They might just want to help you.
Yeah. It's huge.
Because you took my question earlier.
Shoot.
As soon as you started asking it, I was like, and dang it. That was quite literally where I was going. But another one is, for this personal and marketing branding, what are some marketing strategies you have for the entrepreneurs on both the personal or the business branding side? Like, what strategies should they be looking at?
Yeah, so I like to say what stages are you in, depending on what stages you're in. There's different ones, because if you're more established, right? You can take different levels. If you're just starting off as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, let's talk early to mid stage. A lot.
Level one.
I mean, yeah, level 1, level 2. You know,
I was gonna say 1 through 3 if we're on a scale of 10.
Yeah.
Like,
Let's do that.
Okay, level 1. You need to get in front of everybody you can. You need to be putting yourself out there. You need to be taking advantage of the free platforms that are out there, all social media platforms, the newest ones. You need to get on them early. You need to be talking about what you're doing and why you're the person that's best equipped for this. You need to be humble, but you need to, a humble confidence.
Yep.
And then you need to be pushing out content every single day, on top of getting to new places. People need to know what you're doing. And let's use real estate, for example, right? Brand new real estate agent. Yo, if you're not posting about you being in a house or realty or at a realtor meeting or, hey, just closed or things like that, you are not really a real estate agent. Yep. You're just you. And that's cool, but nobody is going to come to you for houses. So you need to be posting and then getting to networking events. You need to be meeting and getting around other real estate killers. Like, don't get around, like, if you're in a brokerage that like remember I told you, hey, look, I want to get by around the ballers. If you're the baller in the room and you're broke, you in the wrong room. Get out of the room. Yo, if you're the smartest one in the room, you need to get out that room. Get around, your environment. You need to be around the big boys. Learn what they're doing. Plus, do your stuff, because you might be better at something than they are. So you can give value and they'll give you value. Hey, I really like what you're doing. What can we do? Can you do this for me? Can we do that for you?
And that right there is something, because the unfortunate reality is people are, there's 100 people in a month approaching those big ballers.
Absolutely.
So you have to bring something to the table to counteract their time.
Absolutely.
Something that we talk about quite often is time is the highest level of currency you could have,
1000%.
because it's not replenishable, right? You only have the same amount of time in a day, in a week, in a month that everyone else has. It's how do you utilize it, right?
Absolutely.
What can you bring to the table for those big guys to give you an ounce of their time? Are you bringing a connection to the table? Maybe, hey, I can't by myself land this job. I know that. Can you bring it to them and we do this 50-50? Teach me in the process. Heck, you might have to give 60-40 to them, 70-40 to them, because they're the ones flipping the bill, the resources, the wherewithal and the knowledge. You have to bring something to them. If you're just saying, hey, can I get some work from you?
Yeah,
you're not getting a response.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't realize that too. It's like, hey, even the lowest thing, just good positive energy, that probably will take you further than everything else. Like a lot of people, they'll want to come around me. They'll want to have, questions, right? But then they want a handout. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like, that's the kind of, hey, Vince, I'm broke. I need to live. I need you to do something for me.
Yep. Pisses you off, doesn't it? It makes me mad.
Sometimes those people don't even understand.
They don't.
You're right. You have to have a level of empathy.
They're not realizing what they're doing and trying to understand it from their vantage point is kind of a key component. Funny enough, I actually had someone call me the other day, 2 days ago maybe, and someone, wanting work. Oh, I can do this. I can do this in the, I can do this, X, Y, Z, da, da, da. And I was very politely getting off the phone with him. And he goes, I can do anything. And I'm just like, it's just kind of a trigger thing. I'm like, no one can do everything, right? Mm-hmm. Next thing you know, he starts listening to a few things, and there was one thing that he said, which I'm not going to give it away because then I'm going to get every phone call that says the same thing he said. Right,
yeah, for sure.
But he said something, and I was like, I asked a follow up regarding that one specific thing, and he was like, well, funny enough, that's something that I really like to do, and I was like, okay, let's talk more about that. So he listed 5 or 6 things. One caught my ear. I asked a follow-up because he got me. He got me on the phone. I don't always answer every phone call, but he got me. So I was going to give him 30 seconds of my time. He had that one tiny microcosm of a hook, asked a follow-up. He answered. I asked another follow-up. He answered again. Now he's on my radar. I'm like, okay, and I even told him on the phone, I was like, there's nothing right now I can offer you.
Right.
But please send me an email, elaborate on all this, and I promise you I'm gonna put you in a folder that I keep a lot of my contacts that I like or I feel could work, and maybe in the future we can work together. Starting point. That's all it was, and it was very evident. He was grateful. You could hear it in his voice. Thank you so much. I hope I didn't interrupt your day. He was remarkably polite.
That's awesome.
But, he went from triggering me, oh, I can do everything, no, you can't, to just one thing he said, and I was like, oh.
Yeah.
What about this? He's like, honestly, that's something that I really sincerely like to do. And I could hear the genuism in that statement too. He wasn't just saying it because I mentioned it. You could just hear it.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, there's value there. Send me an email. He did. Said thank you again. I'm holding on to his info. You never know.
You never know.
Speaking of a success like that, could you illustrate a success you've had with a campaign you created for like an artist, for instance?
Yeah, man. I'm going to talk about me right now. Especially, I'm a little bit older than these younger guys, right? So me, I've taken other artists and like people like Knowledge or, other artists that I've seen, and they're willing to do the work, right? They're willing to get the work done, but maybe they don't have the time, right? Or maybe they don't have the content creation, or maybe, they don't like the way they look, right?
Sure.
I've always said this, like, hey, if I can do it, you can do it. And so what I've done is I've taken my own campaign and I've stepped it up. And I've taken, I don't know if you've seen it, even when we did the Mix One shows, right? Mm-hmm. I grabbed it right off of YouTube, chopped up everything.
That's when people do that, it's my favorite thing. Because a lot of people will come in and do interviews with us on Mix One, and they don't realize we're serving you up a platter of content. You just have to do something with it. And when you did that, I'm like, this guy understands. He knows the assignment. This is what it is.
And so when you take that, right, there's people who, I don't like the way I look, or I'm too old, or things like that. I went from having 100 listeners on Spotify and 200 listeners on Apple to going to 1,000 listeners on Spotify and 1,000 listeners on Apple just by reposting, and repurposing content. Then taking my content, right, and the new content and repurposing it with older content, mixing it in to make it new. And then that, like, people don't understand. You can do that with anything. Let's take real estate. Hey, you're on a podcast. Now you're saying, hey, so when I first sold homes, well, you have yourself taking a photo of you being a rookie in the house. Take that same stuff while you're talking, repurpose it as an overlay, or a B-roll footage. Put the captions in there, put that out. People will connect to that. Up-and-coming real estate agents will connect to that. Up-and-coming musicians will connect to that. Up-and-coming salespeople will connect to you taking your old content. Like, you see me, I have dreads, right? Yeah. Yo, I'm putting up stuff where I have short hair.
Yeah, yeah.
It just shows how long I've been doing this. Because people think, oh, new artist, new guy, he's not around that long. No. Every overnight success was 15 years in the making.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that I use myself because I always feel like if you can get you hot, you can get anybody else hot.
Yeah, 100%. I use that as a case study a lot for the Mix One network. I'm like, hey, I've done it here. Mm-hmm. Hello, I can do that for you. And a lot of situations when we take over someone's marketing campaign, we've taken the graph looks like this, just straight up. Because it's just our base understanding is just a much higher level than your base understanding in a lot of situations. Mm-hmm. So just like when you come and set your campaigns up for yourself, it's like what you're saying. hey artist, look at my numbers.
Yep.
If you want to do anything like this, I'm the guy to talk to.
Absolutely. To kind of be the flip side of the coin too, I can talk about companies that I've also worked with. I'm not going to say their names, but literally talking about it today on the way over here with my wife. How when they stop working with me, they look like they fell off a cliff.
I love that. Right? That's one of my favorite things.
Yeah, and it is so. I really want them people to succeed. Maybe they didn't. Maybe they didn't have the budget. Maybe it was something that they were going through, right? Because when you're an entrepreneur, right, and you're helping these companies, like they're the same people as you, right? But understanding, like when things go south, the first thing that gets cut is marketing.
Yes.
That should be the last thing that gets cut.
100%.
Makes no sense.
It has no, and they're like, oh, the page is doing well, but like we just, and when they start saying that, I'm already checking out. You have no idea what you're doing, and then 2, 3, 4 months down the line, I'm calling you up again saying, how's things going? And you're like, I wish we never would have. How can we start the engine up again?
Yes.
And that kind of work is hard.
That's why it's my favorite thing. When they come back.
So are they coming back, or are you doing a cold call?
I'm doing both. I always like to make sure that I check in. I do want to check in. The reason why is because I feel like you're making these connections with these people. When you're filming someone, when you're creating content for them, you're like, even now we're sitting down, we're creating a deeper connection. Like, Kevin, I didn't know you till when we walked into the room. Now maybe you know a little bit something about me, right? Watches, right? We're talking about entrepreneurship. Oh man, this is going on. When you have that level of like, I don't want like a connection. I don't want to call it intimacy, but that level of connection, you want to see them do well. Yeah. I'm never going into somebody's content creation being like, oh yeah, they're going out of business soon. Like that means I'm going out of business. I'm gonna be looking for another client. So you always want to see them do well. When they don't, I am hitting them up like, hey, look, what's going on? Like, what are you doing? I'm even giving key tips and providing value because I want to see them do well. And during that time as well, I'm also giving them tips like, hey, look, maybe you can't afford to have me in here, or you got to find a way to have me in here every single day. But if that's not going on, do this, do that. Leave little gems for them. And if they're not doing it, hey, are you doing this? I haven't seen anything. That shows them that you're caring. And some of those people will come back and be like, man, look, man, he didn't leave me by the wayside, when we were just struggling.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Yeah, I can understand that. I mean, we're definitely revisiting some past clients that had stopped during 2022, 2023. We're in the midst of a few of them restarting because you have a connection with them.
It's easier, right?
It is. It's easier, and also just like you're already doing it for them, you might as well just start again. Like, it's just because a client left doesn't mean that they're gone forever. It's just a matter of maybe
the chances of them coming back are pretty high.
Yeah, they're higher than just never coming back.
Exactly.
I mean, especially if you feel and have definitive proof that you did a good job, right?
Yeah. It's like your barber. I love my barber. One time
cheating on your barber is the worst.
It's the worst, man. You go to somebody else. Well, cheating on your content creator is the worst too, man. I had to put that one in there for us, guys.
Equal status. I appreciate that. I appreciate the shout out.
Yeah, man. You got to make sure, man. And that's what I'm saying. Is like that you develop a connection, a relationship with these people. Okay, maybe you thought the grass was greener on the other side. It wasn't. Let's make it happen again.
That's the thing. I've heard that saying before, and I've used it. Like, the grass is not always greener on the other side. And we've learned that lesson ourselves. We've made a change with maybe a software we use, or camera equipment, or a different freelancer for a certain position. And sometimes you can be successful, but I'm gonna tell you right now, not all the time.
Right? Yeah. If the grass is greener, you need to water your own grass, bro. You need to put more water on it.
That's true. Wow. Yeah, that goes back to a conversation we had with Kevin. Wanted to kind of branch out into a higher level within the industry. I really don't want to say what it is, but Kevin and I talked, and I said, I've got to be like honest with you. I think instead of doing this, you should put like that extra time back in here. And then pretty quickly, once you started doing that, you were already seeing success levels go up and up and up.
Yeah, I see the same thing in my business. Not to cut you off, but just we decided we wanted to get into the marketing part, right? We brought on a social SEO guy, a website guy, all these things. When our bread and butter was literally creating the content, like creating it, shooting it, editing it, and posting it. Instead, we added too many verticals, and it really, when we couldn't deliver.
Yep.
We started, our drop off was crazy because we weren't delivering. We're still going through that right now, and really saying, man, like, I don't like creating websites. No, it's not my thing.
Nope. I have no desire as well. Good to go.
I'll shoot the video, but I really don't want to create the landing page. I also don't want to create ads for people. I'm being honest. Advertising creation is a different budget than content creation, right? Because when you're dumping money into an ad, it has to be so meticulous. We decided to get into the advertising and realized, man, that is not what we want. I could sell. But if the person, like, you get me on a camera, and I can make that. But maybe you get some dry dude on the camera, the message doesn't resonate the same. And people can feel that. And so we realized when it's more organic or content creation, or it's behind the scenes, or it's podcast, or it's photo shoots, or just like that type of social media digital presence, it's great. I don't want to be judged on how many leads you're getting. I don't want to be judged on the conversion rate. I want to create the content. And when we got back to that, we started seeing an increase as well. And so, it sucked because we brought on these people, and then we realized, hey, man, like, all the stuff that you told us we could do, we're not really that good at. Got to let them go, downsize a little bit, and really get back to what the basics are. And that's what we're seeing.
That's fair. You have to know your strengths.
Yeah.
For sure. We're winding down to the end of the podcast. I did have a question. I want to give you space to ask a question as well. But for me, my last question is, what are your plans to like influence and engage with the community that you're building yourself around? Yeah,
man, I really feel like that's an important part of what life is about, right? Like, how do you give back? When I was in Tampa growing up, there was a program called the Youth Opportunity Movement, the YO program. Okay. It really helped underprivileged youth in the inner city. When I was in high school, I was homeless. These people got me a hotel for 3 days, and they put me in a place, and they really helped me out. I ended up graduating all academic, got a scholarship. These people really helped me out, and so I really want to be a part of that. There's something called the Skills Center Elite. The Skills Center that's off of 22nd, and in between Hillsborough at Middleton High School, right across the street. I really want to be able to help that center, because those same people work there. So influencing the community, going into prisons, into high schools. I've got a background in that, right? Obviously, I'm a felon, so I've been to prison. I went to prison for 3 years. Being able to tell these people, hey, you're not defined by the mistakes that you've made. You can actually come back from those and succeed. Don't let the moment right now or what you're going through right now define you. I want to be able to influence them and give them a positive message and be a positive influence. My music back in the day was all about trap, because that's what I was going through. Now that I'm older, I realize, hey, it's not. Don't get caught in the trap. Realize that you can make moves, and you could be in the youngest in the yacht club. You could be the youngest in the yacht club. You can make that. And so just getting that message across to kids, youth, adults that might be going through something, prisoners or inmates, and then people in the community, homeless. We've given back to, we did a Shine the Light on the Humanity, giving away, clothes and bread, and Cuban sandwiches and stuff like that to the homeless. For Chamberlain High School's girls basketball, we actually paid for their tournament, and paid for their uniforms for them to go on a Christmas tournament. So those are the type of things, I love to do. I want to do more of, and we just got to continue to just grow so that we can.
So how do you manage your time to do all this? 'Cause I mean that alone, like that takes a hot minute, and you know, there's only so much time in a week. Like, how are you dividing your days to accomplish everything you want personally, business wise, but also, you know, giving back spiritually, all those components?
Yeah, I think it's real important to get on a schedule. Like, so I go to the gym from anywhere from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. I try not to do anything relating work from those first 3 hours. I know some people, they love, you know, waking up early in the morning, answering emails, doing those things. right.
That's where I get that's me time.
Yep.
You know, I like, not to interrupt, like, but that's just really interesting how you're doing that at that time.
Yep.
Meanwhile, for me, I'm working, having a cup of coffee, and like I legitimately enjoy checking whatever 2, 3, 4 boxes that morning.
Yep.
And having my son walk out when he wakes up, say good morning to me. How'd you sleep? I slept good. How about you? Slow? I get a quirky response out of him. You know, he's a goofy kid.
Yeah.
And then he goes to play. I finish up, and then I could hear my daughter wake up. I can see some lights turning on, and I shut my laptop and I help get them sorted in the morning, breakfast and whatnot. But I've accomplished a few things. Can have a little bit of dad time.
Yep.
And drop them off, and then I have like the real start to my day, I suppose.
Yeah.
But it's just really interesting because like my wife sleeps in the morning, you sleep in the morning, but we all have our morning routine.
Yep.
And this is something that her and I just had a conversation with, because she literally said to me the other day, like, do you think I'm lazy for sleeping in the morning when you're working? I was like, no, because what works for you doesn't work for me. What works for me doesn't work for you. And
1000%.
that's okay. I'm not going to the gym in the morning.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you right now.
Yeah.
I will have a terrible start to my day if I'm working out in the morning. I want my workout to be in the afternoon.
Yeah.
It's just really interesting.
And the reason why I do it in the morning is because my day will go from 9 to 9. Like my work day will go from 9 to 9. I will schedule everything that I have to do, like those community outreach, those other things, from 9 to 9. At 9 is where I shut everything else off. I can't go to the gym at 6 because for me, going to the gym is a stress reliever. It makes me feel like I checked one of those boxes off. Like I was, at least if I had the worst day, at least I did something productive for me.
Yeah.
Right?
That's me at night. I'm like, get as much possible you can done. I tell everybody, they come in and bother me here. I'm in the back of the studio. I'm like, I'm locked in right now.
Yeah.
Leave me alone. I'm getting everything done right now.
You're waving at them like, bye. See ya.
Right.
And that's at 11, 12 at night.
Yeah.
You know, that's my time.
Yeah, that's your alone time. I have to get that blood going, that blood flow going, because if not, I'll feel lethargic, and I put on weight super fast. So I'm not happy.
Both, yeah.
I'm not happy if I'm fat, just being me. Like, and listen, you get money, you start eating steaks, eating out, taking the kids out, maybe not hitting, and you start realizing 6 months down the line that everything that you worked for has gone down the drain.
Yeah.
So knocking that out in the morning has definitely helped me be a lot more healthy, because it doesn't matter how much money you have if you're not here to spend it or invest it.
Yeah. So, all right.
Beautiful.
Oh, invest. You got it. What? Is there something there? Any tidbits on investing or growth business on the financial side?
Absolutely. Always diversify. Whenever you do get, I've made investments that have actually helped me during the transition. Investments into mutual funds, investments into CDs. I always, I'm grateful for those, because it allowed me to, when I was young. I feel like I'm still young, but when I was younger,
you and me both.
when I realized that I had no idea what I was doing, I was just working for my time and not paying myself.
Yep.
I had somebody tell me, "Hey, look, if you're making this money and you're not at least putting it away for something, there could be a rainy day, and then there could be a drought, right? And if there's a drought, you need to be able to grab some type of emergency funds. And I've had to do those in certain parts of my life. And so always putting away and investing, getting, you know, a Roth IRA was huge for me. Being able to invest in that. A lot of people don't know that you can take that, reinvest that in a house and not pay the penalty of the financial stuff. So a lot of people don't realize that you can do different things, putting the money away, putting the money into crypto. That has actually one of that. I had Bitcoin. I put $10,000 in Bitcoin in 2014.
Wow.
It's
Early.
up. I still have it. I've thought about selling it a few times, but I won't because I believe in it, and that's the thing.
It's going to become the global currency.
It is, and so I made those beliefs. Like I only invested in things that I believe in, making. You know, like instead, like you see Dave Ramsey, real estate, you know, getting, and his tactics may not be, I don't agree with all of them. Right. But I use him, and I use like Grant Cardone and Robert Kiyosaki and all these other people. And I take the things that I like from them and I use it to my advantage. But investing helps you when you don't want to work. Like it's like, do you want to be like, I want to be able to go to work because I want to go to work, not because I have to go to work. Right. And other people, they have to go to work in order to pay these bills. And there's a time for that. But later on in your life, you don't want that to be your anchor, I guess you could say, right? Youngest in the Yacht Club. You don't want to be tied down, right? You want to be able to pick it up and be able to move whenever you want to. And I think that's big. So get in early. If you're in your 20s, do it early. If you're in your 30s, do it early. If you're in your 40s, do it. Just continue to do it. Find those things that you can invest in because later on in life, you're going to use those investments, you know, whether it be real estate, whether you do sell crypto or something and do make things. So.
And do it for your kids too. Set that account up for when they're babies.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yep. Well, Vince, we're down to the bottom of it. Thank you so much for coming in. I really appreciate your time. Would you tell everybody where they can find you and give them like a glimpse of what's in the future for you? Yeah,
for sure. I am Vince Serrano. You can find me on all platforms. IAM VinceSerrano. We've got a lot. Rawlink Media. We're actually working with a couple of clients right now that we're, creating content for. Youngest in the Yacht Club. We had the Youngest in the Yacht Club music conference. We're going to be doing another one of those. And then Youngest in the Yacht Club and Vince Serrano, the content creator, the influencer, and the musician, man. I've got an album that's called My True Crime Story. It's actually, I was on the show, My True Crime Story, about the redemption, about how like you can change your life. And so I decided to name my EP that, and that's going to be coming out on even.biz. Just making strides in the community and making strides in the industry, man.
Beautiful.
Love it.
Thank you. Thank you, Vince.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you guys. Thanks, Kevin.
So much.
Man, thanks, Dylan.